workshops with the committee. And then we're on a schedule where we have to have approved budget by March?
Late February.
Late February? Any other comments?
I think the funding of education across the Commonwealth, to some extent across the country, has become so awkward. I think some of the higher levels is going to have to find some relief in the next couple of years. My feeling is that if we're seeing as it looks like we have to be seeking an override of significant proportions, I think we should try to target it at a point where we would not have to go for another one in those 3 years. Give other powers a chance to step in and find relief for us beyond that.
I think Mr. Derby's right, but when I think about the way the process works, I don't know how you do that. Because if you have an override and you add 15 teachers, or 20 teachers, and then that means the year after, all of their salaries are going up by X percent, and we still don't have enough revenues to
But
cover.
you don't know that, and that's,
Well, you don't.
and therein lies the dilemma, right?
How do you not know that?
You don't know what the revenue's gonna
No, but you do know the teacher's salaries are going
No,
up.
be. You do, but you don't know what the revenue's gonna be.
Correct.
So.
Wait a minute, there are ways you deal with a budget. If you're looking to make an override endure 3 years, if you put it all into salaries the first year, you're dead.
Right.
But there have been capital purchases that we've put off, things of that sort. If you put those in the first year and add your faculty in the second or third years, you can deal with it. Well, you can't stretch it longer than that.
Right.
Well, and there's no guarantee you're gonna make status quo with the 3 years with an override either. The bottom line is if you're here,
That's
you put
true.
yourself here,
That's
and
true.
you reduce yourself back to here again.
And there's no guarantee
It's just,
that the enrollment will level.
Right, and but that is the other thing though. The enrollment, if it levels off, if perhaps there's a little boost in revenues and everything gets a little bit better, you know, God willing, we'll have a Democratic president, Democratic governor. If all those things happen, you know, then possibly the problem fixes itself as we go forward.
Oh, they're gonna spend more, Jerry.
Spend more on us.
No, I don't
Let's
think
not get
so.
started on that.
Yeah, let's.
I just think we need the governor to release some of the reserves that he's sitting on.
I think he's gonna have to. I don't see any
I
options.
don't hear him talking about it though.
Well, I went to,
Trying to get the same.
Friday morning, there was a.
Yeah.
Well, the
there was a meeting.
MMA?
No, Stand for Children meeting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
With Brad Jones as the guest, and Brad, Representative Jones has filed a bill exactly to do what you're describing.
Yes.
He's asking for support to release 1/3 of the rainy day fund and earmark it for cities and towns. And he was asking for the public to help support that effort.
At least to the extent that the lottery aid's been reducing, at least minimum, that gap should be met.
And I always thought that was what a rainy day fund was for,
Yeah.
to use it when you really needed it.
The lottery was dedicated to cities and towns, and when it starts to decrease and your reserve is increasing, it is a problem.
So David, over the next week or so, can we get, with the committee, get some dates for some public input sessions, and then I guess we also need to schedule some budget workshops for this process.
I just, you know, so then, aside from the budget workshops, I think it is, and those are helpful, and these forums, open forums, and I'd like to have, you know, at least one in the morning, one in the afternoon, a couple in the evening to let people, and advertise them, and let people come in and really talk about what they see are the priorities for the schools in North Reading. So more listening than really talking about ideas. But beyond that, I think it's important for administration to know what do you want to see as a committee for the next step from us.
I know what I'd like to see, I mean, obviously, you gave us an outline of what the reductions would be, worst case scenario, $1 million. But I guess what I'd like to see too, David, if we go to the restoration budget and the food quality budget, what your priorities would be in those columns, that's what I'd like to see. So we know what we're looking at as far as,
That's good.
You know, I want to be educated, what does it mean when we talk about reducing high school requirements? What kind of impact will that have on students as they apply for colleges and they have a minimum requirement that colleges are looking for? Because it's easy to say, let the high school kids go home early on Wednesdays, and you may not have as big an outcry, they don't need babysitters, they'll probably go off to work, but what does that mean to high school students in preparing for college?
Well, it means a great deal. You're reading the paper about how the state Board of Education is supporting increasing the, what they're saying is a core high school curriculum. Our curriculum in North Reading goes beyond, has always gone beyond what the state proposes or requires. You can pick up the student handbook and you'll see that there's not a graduation requirement, but there's a set of courses that are required for application to the state universities and colleges. But our requirements include 4 years of science, 4 years of math, 4 years of social studies, and within those certain specific requirements in those disciplines requires that students take some fine arts, that students take some application courses in the business area, that they take health, that they take physical educations. And 2 years of study of a world language. If we know that if you relax those requirements, and say we require now that a student take 4 classes on one day and 4 classes on another day, total 8 classes per year, to fill out their schedule. If you said students need to take 7, well, it would mean that we're going to readjust. We have to be careful with time and learning, but it would mean that we probably have to, students wouldn't be taking as many electives. Taking 8 classes over 4 years is a total of 32 classes. When you add up all of the basic requirements, it's under, it's under the 32, and it's made up by students having choices about their electives. And that helps a student in several ways, because they can explore a course that isn't required, but maybe they wish to, this is something that they're interested in, and could form the basis for a college, a college major or minor or a future career. So by lowering the graduation requirements, by lowering the number of required periods that they take, by lowering the number of electives, you end up with a curriculum that's very prescriptive, and takes less time, and there's less flexibility. So when you start, rather than having multiple kinds of science in a particular grade, or several different types of social studies, you'd say we only have 1. This is the science that we offer. No other electives. It's what you take in the 9th grade, the 10th grade, and the 11th grade. So there's no choice here. And that flies in the face of what we want to do, but when you're making difficult choices, do you continue to allow students to take their full range, but put them in classes with 30 and 32 kids? I mean, that's really counterproductive in the long run. Because while the student can put on their transcript, well, yes, I took this particular course, are you going to get the real benefits of taking that course?
But one of my fears is that we'll see you have to keep the core, math, history, science, language arts, but you start cutting not just electives that give kids, you know, just an introduction to an art or music, but your business ed class just goes. And not only does it impact the kids that might go off to college and study a business program, the kids that don't go off to college or go to a two-year program aren't introduced to something, you know, a job skill. I think we need to do more in the business ed, and if we cut requirements, we'll see our business ed department just disappear. And that's, you know, there's a big employment factor there in the technology and the computer programs.
It's true.
I think there's also the whole time learning issue. There's only so many hours you can cut out of a high school curriculum. And you know, if the kids have to be in the school for a certain number of hours, they also have to be in classes for those hours. So that, you know, I don't see much gained in limiting the options that they have the time that they're in classes. I think that's suppressive and counterproductive.
We exceed the minimum number of hours at the high school.
Most high schools do. I mean, the 990 is just the bare minimum. We're over that. Of course, you know, we are working on the power block to determine whether or not that can be used in a different way that time. And if you were to take that time out, you're going to affect the schedule, which then, just by default, you might end up saying instead of 8 classes, you're down to 7, which then gets at, do you want to continue with a block schedule, or do you want to go back to a traditional model? So those are the issues that we're putting out on the table for discussion. They're all interrelated.
And they all make for good fodder for our public input sessions and our budget workshops moving forward too, so we'll move forward on that. This transitions nicely to the warrant, reviewing the April town meeting warrant. I think as Carl mentioned, or Mrs. Vaca, somebody mentioned that there will be, plans right now are for no warrant items, no capital items on the April town meeting warrant. And then that will be revisited again and will be put forward in October, at the October town meeting. However, there is the question of at least one item that has come up several times in the athletic subcommittee, and I don't know if there are any other items, and do we want to put placeholders or put items in April so they then can be considered or will be considered for October? I guess that's the question we have tonight, because I believe tonight tomorrow was the deadline for so one of the issues is, and I'm not sure the exact amount, we wouldn't need it, but to put a placeholder, we talked about this for I don't know how many years. And the Parks and Rec Commission, Rita Mullen now is a member of that athletic subcommittee, talked to us about sharing the costs of that project. We didn't get into any percentages or anything, but I feel it makes sense at this point to at least put a placeholder on the April warrant, and then that would give that item consideration for October. And Rita seemed to feel that there could be more specific plans in place as to how we deal with that, how it would be funded, et cetera, by October. So that's the one item that I'm aware of.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. If we want something on the October warrant, why we would have to be putting a placeholder on the April warrant?
Well, it's been my experience that if these items in the past haven't come up as suggested for an item in April, they have little chance of being considered for October. I guess that's my.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, I would fly in the face of our agreement not to put any capital items on the April warrant.
Well, maybe not putting it on the warrant. I just